Hello, and welcome to PETA's June Town Hall meeting. I'm Ben Williamson, PETA's Senior International Media Director, and I'll be co-hosting today's conversation. Today we are going to be joined by PETA President Ingrid Newkirk, PETA Director of Corporate Affairs Anne Brainard, and Associate Director of Campaigns Danielle Katz for a special town hall to discuss our work to stop the global trade in the skins, fur, and feathers of abused animals. While we wait for all of those joining us today to come on the line, if you have access to a computer, you can stream today's conversation at peta.org/JuneTownHall. Once logged in, you can type in your question and listen to the discussion without using your phone. And for those of you on the phone, at any time during this meeting, you can press 0 to ask a question. You will be transferred to a PETA staff member who will record your question and put you back into the town hall so that you can listen in until we're able to get to your question live a little later in the meeting. As is often the case, we are expecting to get many questions from our members and supporters tonight, and while we may not get to everyone during the meeting, as always, we will follow up with you directly if we missed you during the town hall. And today's town hall coincides with PETA's Save Our Skins Matching Gift Challenge, a special campaign that directly supports all of our groundbreaking work to keep animals from suffering for cruel fashion. At any time during this call, those of you on the phone can press 7 to make a special gift that will be matched dollar for dollar up to our $250,000 goal. And if you're joining us online, you can go to peta.org/townhalldonate, and your gift will be matched there as well. So for those of you on the line already, please hang on a second. We will start in just a moment. And for those of you just joining the meeting, I'm Ben Williamson. I am PETA's Senior International Media Director, and Ingrid, Danny, and Anne will all be on the line very shortly indeed. And today we'll be discussing some of the latest victories in our work to shut down the deadly wool and fur trades. We'll also be discussing the new progress in our campaigns to get fur, skins, and feathers of all animals off of retailer shelves. And we'll have some details on the innovative animal-friendly materials that we hope will replace animal skins in all designer collections. And I hope you'll stay with us until the very end of today's discussion, because Ingrid, Anne, and Danny will all be here to answer your questions live at the very end of this town hall. So it looks like we've got most of our callers on the line now. So without further delay, here's PETA's President, Ingrid Newkirk. Ingrid.
Thanks, Ben, and thanks to all of you for joining us. This is our third town hall meeting of 2017. I'm talking to you from our Sam Simon Center in Norfolk, Virginia, our East Coast headquarters, and I'm looking out of the window actually and seeing 18 geese go floating by on the river, which is really beautiful. Whether this is your first time with us or you've attended town halls for years, I do think that you'll come away tonight from this discussion with a real appreciation of many ways that PETA is saving animal hides, literally saving animal hides. You may have seen, I hope you have, that at the very top of almost every page, if not every page on our website, and in nearly all of our news releases, there's a statement from PETA that says, animals are not ours. That's our motto. Animals are not ours to use in this way, that way, and the other way. That motto is much more than a catchphrase to us. It's a statement that we believe that every animal has the right to live free from exploitation and abuse. And it's been more than 36 years, as you know, since PETA first woke people up with our then groundbreaking Fur is Dead campaign. And with every year, the movement we began in the 1980s, actually in 1980 itself, grows stronger. And that is true of our motto, is animals are not ours to use for fur, for example. 23 years ago, if I can take you back in history for a minute, we actually invaded Calvin Klein's offices in New York. And Calvin Klein became the very first major fashion designer to drop fur. It was a very big deal. Then there was a fur farmer who had to plead guilty to cruelty to animals charges because of a PETA investigation. And that was an investigation that showed him anally electrocuting foxes. And it also made people turn against fur and got that conviction. Back in 2000, when fashion giants like Gap and all their subsidiaries and Florsheim and J. Crew moved to boycott leather from India and from China, it was our cattle trail investigation of this horrific leather trade that prompted them to do just that. It was just 4 years ago when Abercrombie and Fitch and Express and Liz Claiborne and dozens of other companies enacted what was the first ever historical ban on wool from sheep who had been mulesed. And many of you on the phone have read what we've written about mulesing. You know that it's a cruel, long-held practice, in fact, going back to the 1920s, and it means sheep, or lambs really, have huge chunks of their flesh just cut from their backsides with something like a pair of garden shears without painkillers. That's what happens in Australia. And I remember standing on a sheep ranch in Australia for a segment of 60 minutes. They had taken me over there to argue with a rancher. And what I saw just broke my heart into many pieces. And I was standing there debating this rancher, but I knew that collectively our determination was as strong as iron, and we were going to win in the end, and we will. We campaign, I think you know this, relentlessly, and we try everything. With the help of more than, I think it's 6.5 million PETA members and supporters around the world now, I can say that progress in getting the skins and the fur and the feathers of abused animals off store shelves, out of wardrobes, is definitely happening. And we're also getting consumers and companies, big companies, to turn away from other hideous products of the skin trade that you may actually be less aware of, like, for example, mink oil or boar's hair bristles that are used in hairbrushes. We work on that too, and we win. So every single week we hear from retailers. We have more than 300 now who've pledged to drop Angora. Some people call it Angora fur, some people call it Angora wool, but drop Angora. And that's a direct result of these groundbreaking PETA and PETA Asia exposés of truly horrific Chinese Angora rabbit farms. You may remember, if you were reading your Animal Times diligently or looking online, these were farms where our own Dr. Heather and our Chinese staff stood and watched as so-called inspectors approved the farms. And they were approving them even though all around them rabbits were slowly dying and badly dying too. And now we have wonderful vegan fashion spreads turning up on the style pages of major newspapers, even in fashion magazines that have long promoted Angora and other fur. So progress. Clothing companies, designers, even auto manufacturers now these days routinely come to PETA and they ask us for advice. They know that we campaign heavily on this. They know we have a wealth of information, and they want to know, how can we make our products more animal friendly? And today we have new companies that are producing replacements, alternatives to the materials like leather, ones that don't have the same deadly consequences for animals or even for the environment. So it's been a long, hard slog, I guess is my point, but it is paying off for animals. From the closing of fur farms, which we've done in Japan, in Germany, in Holland, in the UK, and in an ever-increasing number of other countries, Croatia recently, to the growing list of designers who are swearing off animal skins, we clearly see, as Mr. Bob Dylan said, that times very much are a-changing. So in a few minutes, you're going to hear from Anne Brainard of PETA's Corporate Affairs Division and Danny Katz from PETA's Campaigns Division. They are two people who are both helping to make many of these impressive changes for animals. But Ben, I see you. You want to get in here. Probably appeal for funds, if I know you, which will keep our investigations out there, our video coming, and our animal success is skyrocketing. So, yes, Ben?
Thank you, Ingrid. I did want to mention, as I mentioned earlier, today's town hall is happening during the last 48 hours of PETA's Save Our Skins Matching Gift Challenge, which is a special chance to double the impact of our vital work that we're discussing on this call. So this challenge comes from a group of generous PETA donors who will be matching every gift made today at today's meeting, dollar for dollar, up to our $250,000 goal. So I really do hope that you'll push us closer to meeting that ambitious challenge goal today. To make a gift right now, all you have to do is press 7 on your phone. A PETA representative will take down your gift information and will put you back into the meeting. And if you're online, you can give us immediately by visiting PETA.org/townhalldonate. And whether you're giving online or on the phone, your gift will all be matched dollar for dollar, meaning every dollar you donate will go twice as far to support the work that we're talking about this evening. Thank you, Ingrid. I just wanted to mention that.
Well, thanks for doing that, Ben, because we have our first wonderful supporters coming through for us and for the animals whose skins we're trying to save. Jason in New York, $50, bless your heart. Suzanne, Macon, Georgia, $25. Rita, Wisconsin, $30. Lee in Pittsburgh, $100. All this adds up. You can give us your house, your firstborn child, your savings account. We'll take it all. It all goes to help animals. So thank you, thank you, thank you. To us, living vegan means far more than leaving animals off your plate. To some people, it just means food. But to us, it also means you get them out of your wardrobe and much more. And it may be clear that killing animals for their skin and their fur is horrifically cruel. Our job, though, is to show consumers that cruelty is an inherent part of the global wool trade as well. Today, PETA is the only major animal organization that's actively working to shut down the wool industry. It is so abysmally cruel. And we're the only ones trying to show consumers how animals truly suffer. For every wool coat and scarf and blanket or sweater or anything made of wool, we take that responsibility very seriously, because we're also the only animal group out there that's focused on stopping the misery of tens of millions of sheep who are condemned to farms and shearing sheds around the world, most notably in Australia, but not only there. And this includes the sheep in places that are knowingly deceptively labeled. Their wool comes out there as, quote, sustainable or responsible. And those are labels that are used by companies that want to soften the image of what is an absolutely cruel product. And as you know, I'm sure, cruelty doesn't just stop with mulesing, which I described, ugly practice there, very painful, and shearing. It ends when the sheep are killed for meat. So if anybody asks you about working to be vegan, we are fighting the wool industry, and that directly impacts the meat trade. It's a twofer. And back to you, Ben, for a sec.
Thank you. I just wanted to say that once again, it's 7 to make a donation and 0 to ask a question, which we're looking forward to answering a little later in the call. But what Ingrid was just talking about there is an issue I've actually been working on lately. Sometime in the coming days, PETA will be releasing a brand new expose that shows that even when a company puts animal welfare standards in place, animals still suffer in the wool industry. It's inevitable. You can't avoid it. We can't tell you right now what the case will be and when it will break or reveal any kind of details about it, unfortunately, but we will be sure to share the news about this truly heartbreaking abuse that we uncovered with everyone who's on the call just as soon as it can be released.
And that should be soon. I'm hoping it is soon, because I've seen the footage from that case, and I can vouch that it proves again that the idea of, quote, responsible wool is just a myth. There isn't any. What the wool industry is hell-bent on doing is convincing people that producing wool is harmless to animals, but it isn't. That's why PETA and our affiliates in other countries have sent investigators into many dozens of facilities across 3 continents so that we can give shoppers a true and accurate picture of what happens to sheep every day in the wool trade. Some of the most disturbing cruelty we uncovered we found in 19 shearing sheds in Australia. And of course, again, Australia is the world's largest wool exporter. In those sheds, our PETA expose showed wool workers or shearers beating terrified sheep in the face with electric clippers and punching them and stomping on their heads and their necks. The good news, which doesn't take away from the animal's pain, but is good news, is this past December, a shearer from that case that we exposed pled guilty to 4 cruelty to animals charges and was banned from shearing or managing any animals on farms for 2 years. That, believe it or not, was the very first time ever that a shearer anywhere in the world had been convicted of cruelty to animals. And it really opened the floodgates to more convictions. So then in March, 4 more shearers were convicted on 60 additional cruelty charges as a result of our case. And just last month, another shearer who had been labeled a champion by the wool industry for his how quick he was in slicing wool off sheep's bodies, was convicted of beating a lamb with a hammer and some other offenses too. The courts ruled, the judges ruled, that all 5 of those men are now banned from owning or being in charge of sheep, some for 2 years. And you have to remember, this is their livelihood. This is all they did. They're professional shearers, so they can't touch a sheep, which is, or any other animal. And so that's a big, big punishment, and we're very pleased for that. And tens of millions of people have seen our video that resulted in those first ever convictions. And that video makes a very powerful case. It's inarguable once somebody watches the footage. So please, take it, get it off the website, show it to every single person that you can. Everybody needs to know that it's not just harmless shearing. It's awful what is done to these sheep, and in fact many of them are killed or have their limbs broken during the shearing. A few months back, I should say, long-time PETA Hollywood friend Joaquin Phoenix drew even more attention to these exposés we've made of the wool trade. He did a very beautiful ad which promotes a wool-free wardrobe. He was wearing a gorgeous non-wool suit while he was shooting this video for us and standing with a sheep. And you can follow it online, or actually I think you should be seeing it on your screen now. If you're online, you should be able to see it. If not, just go to our website.
Yeah, and if you haven't yet watched Joaquin's testimonial on why he made that ad on our website, please, I do hope that you'll do so right after the call. And I just wanted to make a quick note to our listeners again. At any time during today's town hall, you can press 0 to ask a question about all of the work that we're discussing or anything that happens to come to your head. If you're joining us online, you should see a question field that you can complete towards the bottom of your screen. And Ingrid, Anne, and Danny will all be answering your questions live a little bit later in today's town hall. Sorry, Ingrid.
No, thank you. And I want to have a big thank you shout out to Thea in Florida, who has given us $200 to help with this case. And Karasu, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Please forgive me if not. Bless your heart. Folsom, California, $100. Jacqueline from Van Nuys, I'm probably mispronouncing that, $15. Anand in Iowa, $100. Michael from University Park, Florida, $100. Mary in Marblehead, Massachusetts, $75. Thank you. Carol in Massachusetts, $100. Michael in New York, $10. Thank you. Kimberly in Dania, Florida, $200. This is the life's blood of our investigations. This is what allows us to buy the equipment, send the investigators, put this footage out there, speak to the retailers. You're making it happen. So thank you very much. And if you'd like to join with these donors in making it happen, please press 7 on your phone. Now, before we bring Anne in to discuss how PETA's corporate team is keeping the pressure on this global skins trade, may I remind you of the special opportunity Ben mentioned. Any gift made during this town hall, whether it's $10 or $10,000, anything in between, anything above, will be doubled through the Save Our Skins Matching Challenge, which is really a wonderful, wonderful thing. So every dollar you donate will obviously do twice as much to keep animals from becoming victims of cruel fashion. So again, to donate now, push us closer to our goal. We don't want to miss any of the matching funds. Animals need it. Simply please press 7 on your phone, and a PETA staffer will help process your donation. On the web, if you're there, you just go to PETA.org/townhalldonate. That's PETA.org/townhalldonate, and your gift will be matched there as well. And again, we want to raise $250,000, which sounds like a lot, doesn't go a long way. It's all going to be put to fabulous use. That's the special challenge before June the 30th. So please, if you can, take a moment to help as much as you can. I'm sure you know it takes more than demonstrations and videos to push companies to become more compassionate, although all those things are important. For every company that we're targeting publicly, there may be a dozen or more who are working with us behind the scenes. And that's where PETA's Corporate Affairs Department and its director, Anne Brainard, come in. Anne is now going to give us a report on a few of the many ways her department is helping PETA transform the fashion industry and save the animals' hides. So Anne, over to you, please.
Thanks, Ingrid. Well, to some of you on the line, working in PETA's Corporate Affairs Department may seem, well, a bit less exciting than the grassroots protest work that PETA's campaigns team is responsible for. But well before high-profile campaigns targeting companies like Canada Goose or Louis Vuitton kick off, which Danny will tell us about in a few minutes, my team has already been trying hard to get those companies to work cooperatively with us. For both the corporations and for PETA, meeting behind the scenes in an effort to improve corporate animal welfare policies as well as the practices is often far faster and less expensive than dealing with a high-profile campaign. One of our very successful corporate tactics involves buying stock so that we can participate in companies' annual meetings and submit shareholder resolutions. In fact, just earlier this month, we were at Hermès' annual meeting to repeat our call for the company to stop selling bags and other products made from skins hacked from the bodies of crocodiles, alligators, and ostriches. And while that meeting may not have led to an immediate victory, sometimes even just the threat of PETA presenting a shareholder resolution is really enough to drive a company to begin negotiating with us. And that's because, as we know, heads of corporations watch the news. They read newspapers and they follow social media. So they know that demand for animal-friendly vegan products is increasing. Most also understand that consumers today are more aware than ever of the animal suffering that goes into every pair of leather gloves or Angora sweater or fur collar that's produced. Growing numbers of consumers really want to use their money to support ethical companies, and working with PETA is often a direct path to making that happen. One industry that has certainly felt the impact of PETA's corporate work has been, as Ingrid mentioned, the global trade in Angora wool. Thanks to the shocking revelations of PETA's investigation of Angora farms, which showed rabbits tied down and screaming as their fur is ripped out, more than 300 retailers have now banned Angora wool permanently from their shelves and online. The list of companies that have dropped Angora kind of looks like a who's who of fashion, with Ann Taylor, Anthropologie, Ralph Lauren, Calvin Klein, Eddie Bauer, and Express, and even the top 3 largest retailers in the world, and that's Gap Inc., H&M, and Inditex, which owns the very popular store Zara. That list has many more household names on it, and new names being added all the time. PETA is also working behind the scenes with companies who still use feathers from abused ducks and geese. Our expose of so-called responsible down suppliers, which in and of itself is a misnomer, revealed that on goose farms across China, where 80% of the world's down and feathers are produced, workers were seen stepping on geese's delicate wings and necks, tightly binding their feet together, and ripping their feathers out by the fistful as the birds screamed and bled. That investigation helped us convince outdoor gear manufacturer Coleman to stop using down in sleeping bags and in jackets. It also helped us persuade Williamson, Pottery Barn, West Elm, Restoration Hardware, and Crate and Barrel to offer synthetic options for all of their down products. We're also seeing progress on our work to get hotels to go down-free. Following discussions with PETA, Marriott reduced its use of down bedding by over 50%. And their brands Moxie and AC hotels are completely down-free because of our discussions. And please remember, when you stay at a hotel, leave comments and always request a down-free room. While we've talked about the many companies PETA has helped persuade to drop the skins, feathers, and fur from their products, there's another area we're seeing very exciting progress on that you may be less aware of, and that's our work to get companies to replace animal skins with innovative new vegan leathers. PETA UK is working right now with an Italian company that's developing a wine leather, which is a simulated leather made from grape skin and seed fibers, which are provided by organic Italian winemakers. And another Italian company is developing a new, highly breathable leather made from mushrooms, and that resembles suede. And that's really just the tip of the iceberg. Companies are lining up to make new cruelty-free vegan leathers from pineapple fibers, tea, corn, and even recycled paper.
So that sounds as if we should all save our garbage and make leather out of it, vegan leather. It's all very exciting. I know that some automakers in particular are very eager to see these new cruelty-free, environmentally friendly leathers come on the market. We've been protesting at auto shows and outside the headquarters of General Motors to pressure that company, along with Volkswagen and Toyota, to make all of their cars more eco-friendly and animal-friendly by replacing leather interiors with vegan leather interiors. At the moment, luxury automakers like Ferrari and Mercedes-Benz offer entirely vegan options for their vehicles. You only have to ask. And if we hadn't spoken up for animals at a Tesla's annual shareholder meeting, that beautiful all-vegan leather interior that they now offer in all Tesla models probably wouldn't have happened, or it wouldn't have happened so soon, right, Anne?
That's right, Ingrid. The influence of PETA and the new generation of really compassionate consumers we helped inspire is rippling throughout the entire fashion industry. And one way we're making that...
May I stop you just for a minute? I just want to say a quick thank you. I don't want this to go by. We have some lovely donors on the line. Just let me thank some people. Anne from Florida has given $50. Audrey from Rockville, Maryland, my old stomping ground, $75. Elizabeth in Maryland is giving us a refund she just got for $147.55. That's very lovely. Rita in Arizona, $50. Elizabeth, thank you so much for being so kind. $25 from Florida. Nadine, Ontario, good. We're getting across the border support. $50. That's just fantastic. We have Ali from Florida, Erica from Mississauga, another Ontario, $50. Ali was $350. Patricia from Canada, $500. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Rusty, Chattanooga, $100. Marilyn in Las Vegas, $300. Anne from Belleville, Ontario, there we go again, $20. Elizabeth in Miami, and Miami's doing well, $200. Catherine, Minnesota, first one from there, $100. Karen in Ohio, $50. Sheila and Star in British Columbia, yes, $50. Thank you guys so much. Mary Beth in Baltimore, $100. Laura in New York, Oyster Bay, $100. Carol London, Ontario, $20. And Laura from Pennsylvania, $20. You're all extremely kind. You will all make it happen for the animals, and thank you. And I'm sorry to interrupt, Anne, but that's just wonderful.
Yes, thank you, Ingrid. I was just mentioning how we're seeing great support throughout the entire fashion industry, particularly through our use of the PETA-approved vegan logo, which we created, and those online should be seeing it right now. And it's created as a way for clothing and accessory companies to showcase cruelty-free items and raise awareness. This time last year, there were 143 businesses who were part of that program. Today, there are more than 225 companies who use the logo on their vegan products, and more companies line up every week. In January, actor Danielle hosted a special vegan runway show and panel discussion at PETA's Empathy Center in Los Angeles to showcase cruelty-free designs by brands like Vogue Couture and Susie Studio. The show garnered great mainstream and fashion industry attention, with the Los Angeles Times and Women's Wear Daily among the many outlets that covered it. Just 1 month later, PETA hosted a fashion panel at the top design school in the country, Parsons School of Design, to coincide with the school's announcement of the end of its long-standing fur program. Designer Todd Oldham also teamed up with PETA to provide design students with a very special tutorial on how he adapts fabrics to avoid cruel animal-derived materials like wool and leather. PETA affiliates in the UK, Germany, and also India have been working with young designers in those countries to encourage them to create only cruelty-free fashion. It's very exciting. I've been with PETA for 5 years, and every day I see new signs that we're making the world a much more compassionate place for animals, certainly in the world of fashion.
You are, and we're very glad to have you. And these are wonderful updates. We're also very glad to have on the line such terrific supporters. Deborah Novato, $500. That will go a long, long way. Joanna in Ellisville, Virginia, $100. Thank you. Dennis in D.C. First D.C., Dennis, $100. Samantha in New Orleans, $75. Very kind. I just cannot thank you enough. Each of your gifts will be doubled through the Save Our Skins Matching Gift Challenge. And you can tell we're beginning to see some really lovely responses to this challenge. We've got a long way to go to meet our goal, and I don't want to lose any of that because every amount we raise will be put to wonderful use and will actually be able to see the difference in the marketplace and the difference for animals. If you care about foxes or rabbits or minks or beavers or chinchillas, if you can imagine what they go through in traps, in cages, all these things, and you think about the cows and the pigs and all these animals, the deer, sheep, and they are gentle and wonderful, please help us right now. Press 7 on your phone if you can give a gift, or if you're joining us online, it's PETA.org/townhalldonate. That's all one word, PETA.org/townhalldonate. Well, the town hall donates all one word. And please help support this work. Anne's corporate affairs team is comprised of experts at convincing businesses to change cruel practices, cruel ways, swap out those cruel products. Then some companies are just too stubborn to listen. They just don't care. And that's where Danny's campaigns division takes action. So joining us now for her second town hall meeting is PETA Associate Director of Campaigns, Danny Katz. And let me just say, Danny has just celebrated her 10th anniversary with PETA, but she was committed to doing all she could for animals from a long time ago, since attending her very first animal rights demonstration with her parents when she was just a tot. She may be embarrassed to hear me say that. She's grown up now, and she's going to discuss some terrific recent progress in a few of the many campaigns that she and her team are busy working on for PETA. So over to you, Danny.
Thanks so much, Ingrid. As PETA's Associate Director of Campaigns, I've organized thousands of demonstrations, ad campaigns, attention-grabbing videos, and other public actions to spotlight the cruelty animals suffer in the name of fashion. Hardly a week goes by for me now without new signs of progress in our work to keep sheep and rabbits, cows, crocodiles, and countless other kinds of animals from being harmed and killed in the global skins trade. One example of that progress is in our new global push against fur farming since the beginning of the year. As many of you may know, most fur comes from animals raised and killed on fur farms. It's actually 85%. Foxes and other animals go insane, and I mean literally insane, in cramped, filthy cages. And at the end of their miserable lives, they are anally or vaginally electrocuted, bludgeoned, gassed, or killed in other violent ways, even injected with weed killer. Fur farms are so cruel that the UK, Switzerland, Holland, and Austria have regulated them out of existence. On January 1st, good news, animal advocates all over the world celebrated Croatia's ban on fur farming, including everyone here at PETA. It was a long, 10-year-long phase-out period. When the ban was under threat by chinchilla farmers, PETA star supporter Sharon Osbourne came to the rescue by sending a letter to the country's agriculture minister at our request. We also launched a Croatian version of Sharon's PETA video revealing how the fur industry's smallest victims, chinchillas, suffer and die on fur farms, and this was covered by international media outlets. In May, a letter from Pamela Anderson helped PETA squash a similar attempt by the fur industry in Bosnia and Herzegovina to short-circuit a ban on fur farming. Not long after the Croatian ban was enacted, the last remaining fur farm in Japan shut down after hard campaigning by PETA and PETA Asia. This is a very special milestone since we launched our iconic I'd Rather Go Naked Than Wear Fur campaign on the streets of Tokyo. And in May, the German parliament voted to close the last 5 fur farms there within 5 years. PETA Germany had lobbied for this ban for more than 2 decades. And finally, after several investigations, countless protests, tens of thousands of petition signatures, and many celebrity anti-fur campaigns, this wonderful piece of legislation finally passed. Earlier this month, the Czech Republic added itself to the growing list of countries doing away with fur farms as well. The bill there is expected to be soon by the Czech president and was extensively supported by a local group who received information and financial help from PETA Germany. As you can see, the movement to shut down fur farms has real momentum. PETA Germany is providing right now help to Lithuanian activists who are campaigning for a fur farm ban there recently introduced. And a similar bill is expected to be introduced in Poland soon as well. While it may seem as if we still have a long way to go before fur farms disappear here in the U.S., the end of fur farming elsewhere shows us what the persistence and determination of caring people can accomplish.
Yes, it does. And I remember when we started at PETA, fur was not even an issue. We did the very first mailing on fur, and I remember that day very clearly. And of course, it's not just the fur farms whose days are numbered, but let me just say a word of heartfelt thanks from all of us on this call and from all the animals that we will be able to save because you care. Irene, Cathedral City, $10. Thank you so much. Janice from Charleston, West Virginia, $20. Jennifer Rowlett, Texas, $250. Donna, Naples, Florida, $50. Suzanne, California, $7. Thank you very, very much. Ellen, California, $100. You're all fabulous. And Mary just called, is giving us the cost of a big dinner event that was canceled last week, which she estimates would have cost her about $300. So thank you very much for fueling this campaign. This spring, let me just say this, not one Norwegian boat headed out to kill seal pups for their fur, not one. So that effectively ends the seal slaughter that had gone on in Norway for centuries. And some of the sealers blamed the demise on EU regulations against the import of seal products. Interestingly, that was a ban that PETA and our PETA European affiliates worked very hard to defend. We even went before the World Trade Organization and some European Commission court to defend that, and it stuck. Other people, when they talked about this, the sealing boats not going out, thought that perhaps a dramatic cut in government subsidies to sealers had ended Norway's slaughter. That's a move that hundreds of thousands of PETA supporters urged the Canadian government to take as well. So whatever the reason for the bloody industry's long overdue demise, the global outcry that helped end the Norwegian slaughter has to stand as a warning to the Canadian seal industry that it's doomed, and sooner or later it has to go. The numbers are down, but the seals are still being killed to some extent, and that has to end. Before we go back to Danny, I just want to say a big thanks to everybody who has weighed in here. You've all been terrific, and don't forget that you can press 7 on your phone. Caller, Joshua Tree, California, $25. Donna, St. Paul, Minnesota, $25. Dawn in California, $50. David from Rolling Meadows, Illinois, you are a monthly donor. We thank you for the extra $50. It helps very much. Christina from Long Beach, California, $30. And Imelda, on behalf of your dog, Sassy, $70. Thank you very much. Let's see. I think it's going to be your turn, Danny, to say a few words.
Thanks, Ingrid. Yeah, I'm not done. In addition to managing campaigns aimed at educating the public about the fur industry in general, my team also helps put relentless pressure on companies that abuse animals. This year, as some of you may know, we ramped up efforts to target the company Canada Goose. Wild coyotes trapped for this company's fur trim jackets can suffer for days and die slowly and painfully from blood loss, dehydration, freezing to death, or attacks by predators. And the down stuffing in Canada Goose jackets comes from birds who are killed in violent and painful ways. Last fall, PETA supporters protested the grand opening of the company's first brick-and-mortar store in Toronto, which was a protest that caused the company's CEO to flee to the back of the building rather than to address concerns from the consumers there. That protest was followed weeks later by a demonstration at the opening of its U.S. flagship store in New York City, where more than 50 PETA supporters wearing what appeared to be bloody jackets and with their limbs stuck in steel traps spoke out against the company's cruelty. And those demonstrations were just the beginning. In January, actor Maggie Q, who is really just so wonderful for the animals, helped us attract international media attention by leading a protest at Canada Goose's Toronto headquarters. And not long after that, actor Justin Long added his voice to PETA's campaign with a powerful video showing his attempts to ask employees at the U.S. flagship store about the coyotes killed for jacket trim. Then we ramped up the pressure in March as Canada Goose prepared for its initial public offering at the New York and Toronto stock exchanges. In Toronto, while protesters stood outside the building holding anti-fur signs, activists wearing coyote masks and business suits snuck on the main floor of the exchange and blasted the company, Canada Goose, before TV cameras. On the same day in New York, dozens of activists took to the streets in front of the stock exchange, while inside, PETA was buying the minimum needed of Canada Goose stock so that we can take our campaign for animals to the boardroom. With nearly 40 million views and hundreds of thousands of shares of our video targeting Canada Goose to date, this campaign is really continuing to pick up steam. While it can sometimes take many years of intense campaigning before a company turns its back on fur or other hideous products of animal abuse, companies like Canada Goose should know by now that PETA will never relent until they do.
Thank you, Danny, so much. Just let me jump in here quickly and thank a bunch of wonderful, wonderful people for trying to get us near our goal. We've got a long way to go. But Laurie, Pennsylvania, $25. Gail in California, $15. Veronica from Vegas, $250. Don't gamble that. Give it to us. That's fabulous. Donna from Sag Harbor, $5,000. Donna, thank you so much. Teresa from Quebec, $300. Isabel from Montreal, oh, thank you, thank you. Rebecca from Illinois, $25. Catherine from Naples, Florida, $100. Edward from San Diego, $100. Pat from Canada, I know you're Vanguard Society, member of Augustus Club, an extra $500 towards our match from you. Kathy in Minnesota, $20. Thank you. Suzanne from Claresville, California, thank you to all of you. And now back to maybe Ben. Ben?
Thank you, Ingrid. Yes, and I'd like to add my thanks to everyone's generous gift tonight and remind you all that it will be matched dollar for dollar, so today is really the time to give. And I just wanted to, before we talk a bit more about PETA's campaign work, just a quick reminder that Danny, Anne, and Ingrid will all be answering your questions live at the end of today's town hall, so not long to go until we get to the questions. And to get your question in right now, you can press 0 on your phone. And of course, remember, you can press 7 at any time during tonight's town hall to help us reach that matching gift challenge by making a contribution. We really appreciate it. Danny.
Thanks, Ben. So I realize that we've talked a great deal about fur so far, but that's really far from the only PETA campaign to save animals' skins, as you may know. You may recall that in December, a PETA video expose revealed that live crocodiles in Vietnam are held down as their necks are cut open and metal rods are jammed down their spines, all to make so-called luxury leather bags. One of the farms in that video supplied skins to Louis Vuitton, and they kept crocodiles in concrete pits narrower than the length of the animals' bodies. Our video expose went viral and has been seen more than 32 million times on Facebook. As the video spread, our Facebook page received more than 100,000 new likes, which means that people who missed our content before are now connected with us to help animals in different ways every single day. PETA and our international affiliates kept the pressure on Louis Vuitton to drop exotic skins by holding demonstrations at storefronts around the world featuring painted crocodiles, which have generated massive media attention. At the same time, we're also pushing other fashion giants, Hermes and Prada, among others, to drop cruel exotic skins, an effort designers and retailers have taken notice of. Last year, Global Brands Group, the company behind Juicy Couture and other well-known brands, banned ostrich skins and feathers from their lines after being contacted by PETA. And just last month, following years of pressure from PETA, VF Corporation, a company whose labels include popular brands like Eagle Creek, Lee, the North Face, and Vans, announced a policy banning exotic skins, Angora, and fur from all of its brands.
Thank you, Danny. Just before Ingrid comes back with a final word or two, and before we take your questions, just one final reminder of everything we've discussed today, from the new fur bans in Europe to Anne's work with huge clothing retailers, can only happen because of the direct support of caring PETA donors. So if you haven't given already, please do consider pressing 7 right now and having your gift matched to help power all the work that we've been talking about, the life-saving work that we've been discussing tonight. Ingrid.
Yes, Ben is right. We could very, very much use your support. If you'll press 7 on your phone, animals will be grateful, we'll be grateful. It just really, truly makes all the difference in the world. It does. We began today's town hall by discussing some of our first ever victories, going back down memory lane. And some of those groundbreaking victories for animals, as you know, took years to accomplish. There was never a dull moment. There was never a lag. We just kept going. Today, because of the determination of both Anne and Danny's teams and everyone whose contributions makes those departments possible, brings them into existence and keeps them strong, we're able to accomplish similar victories in just a matter of days or weeks sometimes. We even went over some of the companies that have long opposed nearly everything that PETA stands for. So it's all working. It's because of you, those of you who joined us tonight. Because of you, there's been so much progress. Millions are still suffering, but we have made progress for sheep, for cows, for alligators, as Danny just said, for geese, like the ones outside my window, only not so lucky, and all of the other animals who are victims of the clothing trades, the bedding industry, and so on. So thank you very much to each and every one of you for your compassion and for making these vital bits of work for animals possible. Before we go and before we take your questions, I just want to thank Debbie from Florida for $25. It will help. James from Tucson, $100. J.A. from Florida, $100. Robert in Texas, $100. Joy in Illinois, $200. Cynthia, $15, North Carolina. Arlene, Bakersfield, $50 in honor of your neighbor's cat, Tigger. That's delightful. Ann Portland in Oregon, thank you for the $50 you've sent in. Peter in Ohio, $100. Marie in Brooklyn, $25. Colette in Connecticut, thank you very much, $100. And Nettie from Shady Springs, thank you for giving us $10. We are trying hard to make this challenge before it closes, and we are so glad that you are helping us do it for the animals' sake.
Thank you, Ingrid. So I think we better get down to the callers. We've got Elizabeth from Miami on the phone, hopefully. Elizabeth, what's your question for Ingrid or Anne or Danny? Elizabeth, are you there?
Yes, I am. I was wondering if there are any grassroots organizations, even one in Australia, working toward this liberation. It's been going on for over 25 years, that I recall.
Oh, yeah. It's a good question. We work with a lot of groups in Australia, but we're actually in Australia ourselves. There's PETA Australia, and I've been over there. Others of us have been over there trying to work, but we've got people on the ground, staff in Australia, and we put together a network of people. We also try to push the Australian government. At the moment, we are trying to call for an investigation into the use of methamphetamines, what they call ice, which the shearers use so that they can shear quicker, and of course that means more injuries for the lambs. Yes, we have people with vegan starter kits. We're working on Australian companies, and so we're very vigorously, there is, in fact, a PETA Australia website if you'd like to look at that. And we work with other groups over there on live export and all manner of things. So that's an excellent question. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Elizabeth. I think we
lost Ben.
I should be here.
Help? There you are. You're back.
Oh, hi. Sorry, I'd like to introduce Michael from Belarus. Is Michael on the line? No?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, hi, Michael. What's your question?
It was mentioned that Mercedes-Benz and other car manufacturers do have vegan leather interior options. I was wondering what sort of, for lack of a better term, advertisement is put within or on the material to state that this is a vegan type leather, that so that somebody else, another passenger to the car doesn't enter the car and think, oh, wow, this person, purchased a leather interior, therefore leather must be okay.
Yeah, I take your point very much. They don't like to market any more than they like to put a stamp on it that says it's leather. But I think it's pretty obvious, frankly, in most cases, because leather has a smell, and vegan leather doesn't. And you can stick to the seat in summer if you're wearing shorts on a regular leather seat. And I've heard from people say, well, you don't have that with a vegan leather interior. And my guess is that almost anybody who's taken the trouble and is ethical enough to insist on a vegan leather interior is going to mention that in passing, like a good activist, to anyone who gets in the car, whether or not they're vegan. So, no, they're not marking it, but you do find them now actually advertising it in some cases, although still, for many cars, you just have to say, I want a vegan leather interior. But the Nissan Leaf, for example, one of the Volvos, one of the Smarts, the Ferrari, they actually say it's vegan leather, but it's not marked on the seats themselves. So thanks for that.
Thank you very much. We should have Mary Beth from Baltimore on the line. Mary Beth?
Hi, I'm Mary Beth from Baltimore, and my question is, for this live plucking, like they do with the geese and the rabbits, those creatures probably die, right? So why don't they just kill them first?
Anne, do you want to take that?
Sure. Well, in the down industry, it's profitable for farmers to live pluck the animals throughout their lives because they'll procure more feathers throughout the bird's life. And that's very similar to the Angora industry, where Angora rabbits will regrow their hair throughout their lifetime. So it's more profitable for the farmers to live pluck the rabbits and get more volume over the rabbit's lifetime rather than plucking the birds or the rabbits just one time after slaughter.
Thank you very much for that question. We have Charlotte from Santa Ana, California on the line. Charlotte, what's your question? Charlotte,
if you can hear us, if you missed Ben. Ben's getting kind of fuzzy there. Charlotte, are you on the line?
Linen, L-I-N-E-N.
Yes, please, go ahead.
Is there any animal product in the fabric linen, L-I-N-E-N? You know, like sheet, like a bed sheet.
Yes, got you. I thought lanolin, of course, is from sheep, but linen, L-I-N-E-N, I think is clean and cotton, isn't it, Anne?
Yes, that's a vegan material, so feel free to continue buying that.
Thank you very much for your question there. We've got another online question now. Alice from Boston says, isn't leather just left over when cows are killed for meat? Ingrid, would you like to take this one?
Oh, yes. Thank you. It's a common misconception that it's just some sort of byproduct of the meat industry. It's not. It's a huge moneymaker that props up the meat business. In fact, much leather, just enormous amounts of leather come from India. And I've followed the cattle trail, as many of you know, in India. And the cattle are skinny. There isn't that much meat on their bones, but their leather is where the profit lies. So, yes, the skins and the flesh are all combined to prop up the industry. So, no. And some animals, we've seen dogs killed for their leather in China, specifically for their leather. We know that some animals, certain calves, are killed for calf skin, and it's just for their leather. So, no, leather is a big money maker for the meat industry, and so when you hurt the skins industry, you directly impact the meat industry.
Thanks for that question, Alice. I think that's all the time we've got now. So, just while we've got many callers on the line and willing to ask their questions, we will actually, if we haven't answered your question today. Ingrid.
Thank you, Ben. Ben was coming in and out there, at least from where I sit, and so he was just saying we've got callers and online viewers waiting to ask their questions, and we will get back to you if we haven't answered your question tonight. We apologize for running out of time. Thank you so much for the great questions we did get. As Ben mentioned at the beginning of this call, we will take a few days perhaps, but we will definitely be back. Please stay on the line now. If you'd like to leave a message for the campaigners, for the investigators, for determined staff members like Anne, who has helped us accomplish so much, for Danny the same, we will record your messages and we will share them with the right people. So if you have a question that you didn't get a chance to ask during the call, please just press the button and come on in. And we thank you for your compassion. We thank you for your support. We really can't do this without you. So please stay with us. Help us be strong. Look out for the animals in your daily lives. If we can help you with your activism, that's grand. And on behalf of Ben and everybody on the call, that concludes today's meeting. Thank you for joining us, and good night.